Welcome back to another episode of Scouting the Path. Jesse Hunt here, Tanner Colton alongside.
How we doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Very good.
Before we dive into baseball, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about my love for the Wolves because that's just what I have to do on every sports episode that I do. And even though they got blown out last night by the Warriors, I still am saying Wolves in five, regardless. Now we were talking a little bit beforehand about just the craziness of the NBA playoffs so far this year, and we were talking about that game. So I had asked you the question, and maybe you can give the answer on camera here. As a Pittsburgh native, what is the rivalry like between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia? Now I understand Pittsburgh doesn't have an NBA team, but even like baseball, for instance, is there a rivalry between Pittsburgh and Phillies fans?
Definitely like when the Phillies come to Pittsburgh, like I've been there, they're almost outnumbering the Pirate fans.
Okay.
So it's always like a little like, you know, I don't want to say rivalry, but it's
Mhm.
tense. But and then obviously if you move over to the NHL, Penguins, Flyers, oh,
Oh
we
yeah,
don't we don't
yeah.
want to get into that discussion. But
Gets pretty intense.
yeah.
Really? Wow.
Um but I would say around this area probably there is more Sixer fans because I guess, like you said, Pittsburgh doesn't have a team, even
Right.
though we're kind of basically like geographically closer to Cleveland area.
Yep.
Um, just I noticed more Sixer fans. Um,
What about Eagles and Steelers?
like a rivalry,
Yeah.
not so much.
No.
I don't think a little bit. Like you have like I know at Penn State every when the Steelers and Eagles verse, it gets real like crazy over there.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
In Minnesota, our big rivalry is when the Brewers come to town. And usually
really.
The Wisconsin fans, they come over and they're louder than anybody in the stands, and
Yeah.
they make their presence known. And usually the Milwaukee Minnesota series are pretty fun because there always seem to be about a split. Even if one team is doing well and the other isn't, it seems they bring that little extra kick. So,
Is that you guys is like remember how before they integrated the interleague games, they had like one team every year that you played like
yeah.
interleague. Was
Yeah,
that
and that
Milwaukee?
was the one. Yep.
Okay, ours was Detroit
Really?
Pirate. Yeah,
Really? Huh.
I'm not sure why, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I can't think of many things that Pittsburgh and Detroit share
yeah,
other than Francisco Liriano.
yeah,
All right. Well, hey, we mentioned last time that we were going to kind of dig into some prospects and maybe a prospect that we really like. You want to go first on your pick?
yeah, certainly. I'm a little biased with this one, but I took Connor Griffin, who's with the Pirates organization. 2024 ninth overall pick. He's expected his ETA for the majors is 2028, which seems far away, but it really ain't. He got drafted out of high school. He's just turned 19, I believe. He's listed drafted as a shortstop, but he does play like outfield center. Um, 6'4", 215. I mean, the guy's built like a tank, and he's like 19, which is pretty awesome.
That's crazy.
His scouting grades I took a look at when he was getting scouted. He did 50 hit, 60 power, 70 speed, 60 field, 60 arm coming out of high school.
Sounds like Aaron Judge.
I know. I mean, the lowest thing is 50, which is his hitting, which I mean that could improve.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
one thing I've said this before about the guy, like every time I watch him bat, as soon as he puts the ball in play, like he's like full sprinting
Yeah.
every single play. I just love that.
Got the
Like
hustle.
oftentimes, yeah, the hustle factor.
Hmm.
Like I don't know why guys don't do that more often. Like they'd be like, oh, he could get hurt. Really? Like I don't buy into that, me
Oh,
personally, but
yeah. All gas, no brakes.
exactly. But so far he's hitting well this year in Bradenton, single A. He has I think it's a 774 OPS and slugging 465. And actually, one thing that stands out, pretty good base stealer. He has 11 stolen bases in only 24 games.
You said he's a 70 speed, right? 70
Mhm.
scale speed.
Yes,
That's
he's
impressive for
fast.
six
Yeah,
four. Yeah.
I know.
What do you project him as going into the majors? What's your projection for him?
Based on where the Pirates are at now, I mean, the big factor in that was when they moved Cruz to the outfield from short.
Yep.
I mean, and but we also have a lot of middle infield prospects like Termar Johnson in Double A. We have Nick Gonzalez who's been hurt. He's still, but he'll be back. He's more of like a second baseman. Same with Termar. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure what route they'll take, but I'd like to see Griffin play short. I think that'd be really cool.
O'Neill Cruz has a cannon from short. I remember seeing some highlights of watching him throw across the diamond.
Yeah, was it yesterday? He threw out a guy from center field at home plate. It was like a 100-mile-an-hour throw.
His arm is crazy.
He's
And he's
having a
yeah,
very good start to the season.
he's leading the
So
team with home runs
yeah,
with
and stolen
eight.
bases.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
stolen bases. How anticipated was O'Neill Cruz's major league debut? Was that a prospect that was pretty hot, or was it kind of one of those ones that came out of nowhere?
Um, I wouldn't say it was hot, but it wasn't like shocking, if that makes sense.
Kind of like a mid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he debuted, because like I went to Skeens' debut, and that was like the coolest thing ever. Like they compared
Highly
him to
anticipated.
Strasburg. Oh
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we in Minnesota we're highly anticipating Walker Jenkins, but he can't stay healthy. But
Mm,
the one that is kind of coming out of nowhere for the Twins is Carson McCusker. I've mentioned him before. He just hit
yeah.
two more home runs last night. He's got nine so far. He's six
Wow.
eight, 230 pounds, plays right field, and I think his power, I don't have it in front of me, but I think his power is like a 55 or a 60, but I'd be willing to even say it's higher than that because
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of Saints games lately, and he can turn on it and he can go the other way.
Mm.
It looks like Aaron Judge, just the size too. When somebody 6'8" stands up at the plate, it's just it's so intimidating for a pitcher.
Is he a
It's got to be.
lefty?
He's a righty.
Righty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so-
So that's the guy that kind of came out of nowhere for the Twins fans, and he still isn't really being mentioned. He's 26 years old, so he's going to be up probably by the age of 27. He turns 27 in like 2 weeks. That kind of the parallels with Judge are almost w identical because Judge came up around 26 or 27 as well.
His rookie year, he's 25.
25, yeah, yep, yep. So it's I don't know. I'm maybe getting a little too excited. I'm looking for some sort of excitement somewhere as a Twins
Yeah,
fan. As you
I
know,
know.
it's
I know.
you have to find the joy in these seasons sometimes. All right, so my guy was Colt Emerson, shortstop prospect for the Mariners. Have you heard of Colt Emerson before?
I have not
Colt,
actually.
so Colt Emerson was the 22 to 22nd overall pick in the 2023 draft. In his rookie low A debut, he slashed 374, 496, and 550. So over 1,000 OPS in his rookie debut. He's only the age of 19, and his on base percentage was over 400 even this season. Right now he's in low A, but the comparisons that he's drawing is Kyle Seager. So it's not like he's gonna be, as far as like projection goes, he's gonna be, not Corey Seager, but Kyle Seager, which is still a really solid everyday ball player.
Yeah,
But when somebody's 19 years old and is able to get on base at almost 400 percentage, as well as slugging's over 400 at 19, that means there's a lot of room to grow. One other kind of impressive thing is his walk rate is at 16%. Um,
wow.
he doesn't do a whole lot of stealing, but he is pretty damn good in the field. Uh, I pulled this off of Baseball America. Emerson's maturity and leadership qualities have been praised by coaches and scouts alike. His work ethic and baseball IQ contribute to his rapid development and adaptability at higher levels of play. We talk a lot about that in our classes about the makeup of a ball player. And one player I've wanted to ask either Hank or Dan about, and I just haven't, was Josh Hamilton because Josh
Mm.
Hamilton was that highly anticipated prospect, and then some things went wrong in his life. he ended up coming back and doing really well. But I just wonder what the word was around the league about Josh Hamilton at that time of his struggles. You ever Has that ever crossed your mind about Josh Hamilton? Because he was so highly anticipated for so
I
long.
remember it was Skip Bayless was saying, I really think Josh Hamilton could go down as the greatest baseball player ever. And I mean, what was it? When did he win MVP? Was it 2010? He had like almost 360.
Yeah, I think that was. And at that time he had missed like 6 or 7 years be-
Yeah.
because of that drug issue he had.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad to think, the potential that guy had. I mean, he still had a solid career
Yeah,
from the
right.
time that he played. Yeah.
Paul Molitor was also had a lot of issues in his 20s and 30s, but he still was able to play. But I had read some stories about Paul Molitor being in like trap houses before games
Hmm.
and during the off season. And Paul Molitor still always managed to bat over 300. Some guys just have that natural talent, but I just wonder what Josh Hamilton's makeup was before and then maybe after when he started to take stuff real serious and get clean.
Yeah.
Um, and then this is the final thing I have on Emerson. This is the other thing I pulled off of Baseball America. Emerson projects as an everyday shortstop with the ability to contribute both offensive defensively. If his power continues to develop, he could become a middle of the order bat. Comparisons have been made like Corey Seager or JP Crawford with more potential offensive upside. So someone that really caught my eye when I was looking through the list. I always I always look for the youngest guys. I don't know why that always intrigues me, but when a player comes up like Ronald Acuna when he was like 20 years old and like tears apart the league, I feel like there's always potential for if they can stay healthy, potentially breaking that home run record, and
Right.
uh that's how I kind of became a fan of baseball was watching Barry Bonds play. And I know that a lot of people dislike Bonds for different reasons, but for me as a kid, it was really fun watching him hit bombs all the time, just nonstop.
Unfortunately, I was too young to get to really see Bonds. I was probably like in kindergarten when he retired.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you didn't even get him as a pirate either then.
No, I did not, unfortunately. So, I mean, one guy I like, that big home run guy now, is Judge. Like, I just love watching him.
Yeah.
But he's,
It
I don't know if I'd put him in the same breath as Barry Bonds, but he's certainly has his own category.
he really does, and he's batting like over 400 this year too.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
Insane.
So crazy. Who was the baseball player that I think you mentioned it on the first episode. Was it Andrew McCutcheon is the one that kind of drew you in?
He was the
Yeah.
first one.
Okay. Okay. I think I was in third or fourth grade when I was watching the Barry Bonds 73 home run season.
Mm.
No, it might have been first. And then I watched the record break in third or fourth grade when he hit it at PNC Park in San Diego. So just always on my mind. I that
Yeah.
I loved as much as I don't really agree with steroids in the game. I loved the steroid era. It was so fun.
Was it like 98, the home run race between Sosa
McGuire,
and
Sosa.
McGuire? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I bet that was fun.
I only remember just bits and pieces, not a whole lot, because again, I was 5 at the time. So it would have been. It's almost like what 2019 was. Did you enjoy 2019? The the live ball season. That's when everyone was
No,
hitting.
that was all the home runs.
Yeah, yeah.
Weren't the Twins? They set the record that year,
Yeah,
didn't
they
they?
did set the record. So no
I
wonder I had
remember it
fun.
was them and the Yankees that were like neck and neck the whole season. I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Twins got swept in the playoffs by the Yankees right after that.
Was it the record-breaking home run? Was it Mitch Garver?
It may have been Mitch Garver was my favorite player that season.
I for some reason I think it was Mitch Garver in Detroit.
You could be right. I don't
Just
recall, but
random
Garver hit like a home run every 8.5 at bats in 2019. It was
thing.
nuts. It
Yeah.
was absolutely nuts.
Sano was still there.
Sano was still there. CJ Cron was batting, had over
Yeah.
25 homers. Jonathan Scope had over 25 homers.
They call you
Uh,
guys the Bomb Squad.
what was that?
The Bomb Squad.
The Bamba squad. Yeah. Eddie
Yeah,
Rosario hit
that's
over
it.
30 that year. Nelson Cruz was so good that season. Max Kepler hit
Yeah.
over 30 home runs that year. It was nuts. And Buxton was healthy for 90 games. Everything was an anomaly.
Wow.
So, other than scouting, give me your Pirates update. I'm watching from afar.
Well, the main highlight for the Pirates right now is their offensive struggles. They're continuing. We last night Skeens was on the mound. We had a 1-0 lead basically. No, it was scoreless, and then it was like the sixth inning we scored a run. We're playing the Cardinals, and then I think I don't know if Skeens walked the guy or gave up a hit, and then it was Burleson I think hit like
Okay.
a line drive double that stayed fair by like 2 feet and 2 runs scored, and that was the game 2-1. I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, it's just I don't know. It seems like every time they score like 1 or 2 runs early in the game, then their bats just die.
Disappear.
Yeah, I don't
I,
get it.
I see that with the Twins a lot too, scoring first and second inning runs and then the rest of the game it's
Hmm.
silence.
Yeah,
What do you that St. Louis team, man, they're scrappy this season. What do you think of
all right.
Newt Bar,
Newbar and Donovan.
Donovan? Yeah. Yeah.
Donovan's having a really hot start.
Those are
Yeah,
solid players. Solid
I
ball
I
players.
think Donovan will be an all star.
Yeah. Yeah. So who other than Cruz, who's your even throughout the offensive struggles, who's your offensive MVP so far for the Pirates? Is there even one?
Outside of Cruz,
Yeah, outside of Cruz.
I might not have an answer.
Okay. Yep. Well, that kind of sums up my twins experience
Yeah,
as well. Yeah.
I mean Brian Reynolds is always consistent for us. I mean, I
Hmm.
guess McCutcheon. He's also not been too bad. I think.
Steady. Yeah.
Yeah, steady.
Yeah.
But other than them, it's been cold.
As far as my twins go, Buxton's leading the team in home runs. Buxton's played every game so far this season in center field for the first time ever.
Wow.
I think he's 11 years into his career at this point. He missed 2 games in center only because of some family personal reasons, but other than that, there's been no injury, which has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Royce Lewis had his first game back yesterday. Uh, so we'll see where that goes. I don't feel a whole lot optimistic about this team because like you, it seems like the offense is so stagnant. And there's definitely a noticeable difference in philosophy this season. It's a lot of just make contact. Because before that, when 2019 happened, we just talked about, and then after that, it seemed like all they were trying to do was hit home runs. And then they struck out the most of anybody, I think 2 years ago when they had Sano and Joey Gallo on the same team. By the way, did you see Joey Gallo pitching?
Has he gotten with a team yet?
Yeah, yeah. I, I'm spacing the team right now, but I was watching film of him pitching. He's trying to come back as a pitcher. He's throwing
Yeah.
95,
That's good.
96.
Yeah,
He had a great arm.
he did.
Couldn't hit, but he had a great
I can
arm.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, the philosophy for the Twins so far this year has just been contact, 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 and well, that's cool. I want a little bit more home runs. I mean,
I miss when you guys had a rise.
oh, yeah, yeah. What? Okay, from your standpoint, because I we have this debate often in Minnesota. Would you have, if you had a rise, would you have traded him for Pablo Lopez?
Probably not.
You wouldn't have. Yeah. Um, I go back and forth on it a lot because having a guy that consistently bats 300 is really nice.
I mean,
And
but to give Pablo credit, he's very consistent. I mean, how's he been this year?
Pablo,
Yeah.
eh, steady. You know,
Okay.
he sticks around the 3 to 3.5 ERA.
Yeah.
Last night he threw 5 innings, one earned, 11 strikeouts. He missed about 2 or 3 starts with a hamstring issue earlier in the season, but he's fine now. Um, And at the time when the trade was made, it was Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, and it was a really good collection of starters. But then Sonny Gray went to St. Louis, and Sonny Gray's older now, anyways. So now Pablo is more so considered the ace here.
Mm.
So from that standpoint, do you give up a second baseman or maybe a first baseman that's not very good at fielding for a guy that could be at the top of your rotation? It's it's important, but then again, the Twins don't have a good leadoff hitter either. So
Yeah, that's true. It's just I think guys like Rise don't come around that often.
no, you're right. You're right. They don't. His eye is incredible.
Yeah, definitely the best in the game right now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's almost like we'll go back to basketball for a second when the Clippers traded Shea Gilgeous-Alexander for Paul George. That's that's just such a fleecing in so many ways. And we talk about in our class a lot about I think it was Batna, how you want both sides to win the bargain. That way you maintain a good relationship. I do think Florida and Minnesota both won the trade in some way. I'm wondering what the Marlins got from the Padres for a rise. I don't know off the top of my head.
I'd like to change the subject a little bit. I know I'm
Do it.
sure if you checked any NFL news from this morning, um, obviously
Pickens.
I'm a Steeler fan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's hear it.
Sent George Pickens to the Cowboys for a third round pick.
Yeah,
It's some,
and a fifth,
yeah.
2027 fifth. Yep.
So I mean, in one way, it really hurts because I like Pickens. He had a lot of potential,
Yeah.
but I feel like the Steelers are trying to. I would not be upset if they went through like a rebuilding year and just retooled. Maybe give Will Howard a chance to get a couple games under his belt, and then just draft and be a contender the following season. Because Pickens is almost like a rental because I
Mhm.
think he only has 1 year on his contract. So
Yeah, I was interested to see Metcalf and Pickens play together. I
I know
thought
I
that
was
that was
too.
going to be kind of fun. I
Yeah.
I have a friend who was at the draft party. Were at an NFL draft party who's a big Steelers fan,
Mm.
and he was so upset when the Steelers didn't take Shador. How did you feel?
I was hoping for Milrow,
Okay.
but
Okay.
Seattle snagged him. But I'm
Yeah.
happy with Howard.
Yeah. Do you,
Mm.
what college did Howard come from again? I missed that.
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. You think he's gonna get the start over Mason Rudolph, or you think Rudolph is gonna start for at least the first 6, 7 games?
The Steeler way is they'll probably start Rudolph, and then if he struggles, they'll put in Howard.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just the way, just like last year with Fields and then Wilson.
How do you feel about how do you feel about Fryermuth? You like Fryermuth?
I do. He's very consistent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's that's my
I feel like
friend's.
he should get more targets because he's always consistent.
Yeah, he's kind of a punchline in our fantasy football league because the
Mm.
the guy the one guy that is the Steelers fan always seems to end up with him. So
Mm.
we have this little game during our draft where we have these names on the back of a board, and if a certain name gets called, then you have to take a shot. If you draft that certain player, and Freiermuth is always on the list. So overall, you're happy with the Steelers draft.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, and the Steelers also got that interior lineman that Harmon in the
Harmon
first round.
Morgan.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Mm. So
So
how are you feeling about the Vikes?
um, I I'm excited. They invested in a left guard, so they now have a left guard, a center, and a right guard who are all e either high reputation of being good players or drafted to be a good player.
Mm.
The Vikings interior offensive line has been pushed around for the last 15 years. I think the last time the Vikings had a solid interior line was John Sullivan and Steve Hutchinson, or Matt Burke and Steve Hutchinson, which
Yeah.
was a long, long time ago. And O'Connell said after that Rams debacle, he said something has to be done about the interior line, and they went out and they addressed it. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens. As a Minnesota fan, I can no longer feel like we have an opportunity to win a championship because I haven't seen a championship in my lifetime in this town, and I think the closest I'm gonna get to it is are these Timberwolves. But
Yeah.
um, I the Vikings have a really good roster this year. Their defense, when I what they signed in the offseason for their defense and the offense, they should be good.
Did they get a quarterback, or are they going to go with McCarthy?
McCarthy, and then they traded for Sam Howell from the
That's
Seahawks.
right.
Yeah.
How? That's right. Because I knew Darnold wasn't there.
Yeah, Darnold went to the Seahawks, ironically. Um, but the Vikes gave up a fifth round, like the fifth round first pick for Sam Howell, and the Seahawks like fifth round 28th pick. So they only moved down 27 picks to get Howell. That's kind of a steal. And
Yeah.
even for a backup quarterback, I think it was a very savvy move. Personally, I was kind of bummed they didn't take a flyer on Sanders at that point in the fifth round
Yeah.
because Sanders and McCarthy would have been a lot of fun to follow in training camp.
It would have been.
But I think O'Connell maybe had an opinion. So
Sanders and Jay Jettis would have been quite a
it,
combo.
yeah, it would. It
It
definitely
would have been
would.
fun to watch.
Yeah. Other than that, you have anything else to add?
I don't know. I guess we almost turned this into an NFL talk.
Well,
That's
we
my
didn't get to
fault.
talk about NFL draft last week. We had our
No, we
schedules
didn't.
kind of conflicting,
Yeah.
so
But,
we had to get it in there. But
yeah,
we
that's about all I had. Unless you have anything to add or would like to talk about.
that's pretty much it for now. But we got the MLB draft coming up in about a month, so it's going to be exciting. I think we should definitely talk about that next episode. Maybe some we already maybe mentioned one or two of the prospects coming out, but we should go over a mock draft together and discuss it next
Yeah,
episode.
that would be very neat.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, good deal. Well, thank you for coming on, and we'll be here again next week to shoot our next episode.
Sure thing.
All right,
See you later, everyone.
bye.